All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome on behalf of Convention South and Sports Events. I am Catherine Duro. I'm going to be moderating today's panel. Today's panelists join us from tech companies and destinations. First, we have Gordon Boyes, the CEO of Concept 3D. For the past 4 years, Gordon has overseen Concept 3D's expansion into healthcare, hospitality, and CVBs, as well as the introduction of features that create interactive digital experiences. We also have Robin Daniels, the CMO of Matterport. Robin has spent 2 decades at cutting-edge tech companies across the US and Europe, including leadership positions at WeWork, LinkedIn, Salesforce, and Box. We also have with us Daniel Kraus, CEO of Threshold 360. Daniel has previously held senior positions at Microsoft, Nokia, and a range of successful startups, including 2 that he co-founded. On the destination side, we have Stephanie Negley joining us. She is the Vice President of Sales Operations at Visit Orlando. Stephanie oversees operations in business development, group development, special markets, pharmaceutical, corporate, and intermediary accounts. And finally, we have Jennifer Rothman, who's in charge of international, domestic, and sports sales at Discover Long Island. Jennifer has spent the past 12 years increasing Long Island's awareness as a prime sporting event destination, hosting events including synchronized swimming, USGA golf championships, and NCAA championships. In 2019, she also took the lead at Discover Long Island's international and domestic travel and sales markets. So welcome to all of our panelists. Thank you for joining us today. We'd also like to know a little bit more about our audience before we get going. So if you could take a moment to answer our introductory poll that should be popping up on your screens, that would be great. And while you're doing that, we have just a little bit of housekeeping to go over. You have the option within Zoom to switch from grid view to speaker view so that you see just the person who's talking on screen. And when you have a question, go ahead and enter it into the Q&A. We'll save the last 15 minutes of the session to answer audience questions. All right. Okay, so it seems like we have a lot of people from our DMCs and CVBs here today. Welcome to all. We're so glad you could join us. We are going to go ahead and launch in. So our first question is from a destination perspective. So I'm curious to know how y'all use virtual tours when you're working with planners. And we're going to start with Stephanie.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So with Visit Orlando, about 2 years ago, we started working on a virtual tour platform for Orlando. We are utilizing a tool called Explore It, and we were able to create experiences all the way through Orlando, both for the meeting hotels as well as venues, and that has been a saving grace with everything that has been happening. Our sales team has been able to utilize the platform to show meeting planners what Orlando looks like. We can show them the distance from hotel to hotel, from the convention center. We even have ride experiences on there, as well as the ability for meeting planners to virtually walk through some of our unique venues so that they can start to visualize what a unique offsite event would be. We've been using it as well for site visits. We've created virtual site visits. With the current travel restrictions, it's been obviously a challenge to get meeting planners into our destination. So we have been able to create virtual site experiences where we're able to show a meeting planner while they're sitting in their office and we're in ours. We can show them Orlando, and we've been able to partner with our hotels as well to combine that into doing an Orlando overview and then going directly into looking at specific hotels. So it's been an extremely valuable tool for us. And we have recently been told that the number of visits and the amount of time on our virtual site tour has gone up substantially during these last few months. So it definitely has been a very wise investment that we were very fortunate to start working on a couple years ago.
That's great, thank you. And I know, Jennifer, that y'all have had a slightly different approach. So can you tell us about that?
Yes, we have. So we use Threshold. We implemented it about 2 years ago, and it was more for our consumer-based side. When the pandemic hit, my sales team basically used it as virtual fam tours. So we set up little fam tours for our meeting and conventions hotels, our boutique hotels. And then we also heard that a lot of these meeting planners would want to come out to open spaces. So we were able to show people our wineries, our gardens, our parks, where it would have meeting space. We also use it for the international. So our tour operators, we would do trainings on them to teach them our product and do fam tours with them. So we really concentrated on the fam tour part of it than the site inspection part.
Yeah, and I know that you guys sent out newsletters as well, that to, your people in your mailing list to sort of push them toward your virtual tours.
Yes, so we would send out newsletters to all of our clients and we would have the tours on them. So all they had to do was just click it. It would bring them right to the Threshold website and they would get to see all the hotels, all the attractions, our close proximity to New York City and JFK Airport, that it's easy to get to Long Island with it. So it was really good for us during this whole pandemic issue.
Well, looking at our tech side of things, I know that you guys also all have slightly different ways of approaching your business. So we're going to talk detail in a little bit, but just to get us started, I'm curious to know sort of what central idea or mission drives your approach to building your technology. And I'd like to start with Robin from Matterport.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, first of all, for having me here. The approach that we have is pretty simple. Is we want to increase the value of every space and make every space come to life as if you were there in person. And so what we think about and what we do is we provide the technology, both the camera and also the software technology that allows you to capture space in fully immersive 3D and then share that space with anyone, anytime, either through social channels or on your website, and allow people into that space as if they were really there. They were really walking through that space. They can see all the details. They can measure the length of a wall. They can figure out what would go in certain places if you're trying to plan a convention, if you're trying to plan a small event. So we have been around for about a decade, and we deal with companies in all kinds of industries, including hospitality, real estate, commercial real estate. Our customers range from VRBO to Disney to Mandarin Oriental, because they all want to be able to let people into their space, especially now, without actually having to physically be there. And our technology really lets you do that in a very engaging way.
That's great. What about you, Dan?
Thanks. So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for having me here. Threshold 360 is most fundamentally a platform for storytelling, and we enable destination marketing organizations and location owners to really increase their online engagement and their conversion. We've really built our platform sort of philosophically around helping DMOs to put heads in beds, and we've based our workflow kind of on several years of listening to convention sales folks and meeting planners and capturing what is now a couple 100,000 locations across North America. We really have two different goals as a company. The first one is really to help our DMO customers to increase their meeting convention sales and to drive digital engagement by using these virtual tours and maps and things like that. And number two, to help meeting planners and visitors to also really have the opportunity to sort of step inside and experience a level of detail that really helps them drive a decision about where they actually want to go. We call that decision grade data. I'd say, we kind of pride ourselves on the versatility and the ease of use of the platform, and the fact that these virtual tours can be used in pretty much any marketing channel or major industry platform. So whether it's, copying and pasting a virtual tour into CVent for an RFP response, whether it's social media for a brand campaign, whether it's Google business listings for visitor count and for brand traction, we can kind of be applied for all of those things. And more recently, we found ourselves working increasingly closely with our customers to help capture and in many cases recapture locations for our customers who are really being forced to reimagine their spaces to reflect social distancing and some of the other dynamic adjustments that are being made right now. So we've been really impressed to see how virtual tours lend themselves to all of these different circumstances.
Great, thank you. Gordon, how about y'all?
Sure. At Concept 3, I think the thing that we hold sort of as our big central idea is that people are visual learners. We've seen time and time again the brain science that says that in retention, recall, and sort of ability to consume a large amount of information in a short period of time is is heavily driven by our eyes and what we can see and experience. And so in our 10-year mission of building our company and building our products out, that's been the most important sort of driving force for what we do. When we look at the platform, it's something that is able to be sort of highly customized and take on lots of different visual media and bring it all into one place and create that experience that can guide the consumer. I use consumer broadly speaking, right? Because more often than not, it's a B2B discussion through a series of videos, photos, 360 media, floor plans, models, maps, etc. And even real-time data at times in order to bring someone into a location and give them a feel for what that place is all about and help them make business decisions. So that's how I would sort of summarize what we hold as our central idea.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go off script here for just a quick second because we have a couple of questions that have popped into the Q&A that are just really easy to answer, and I don't want to make people wait till the end. The first question is from Carrie Tripp, and she asks, would you please repeat the name of the tool you're using for virtual tours? And she didn't say which destination, so if you guys could both answer that, that would be great. Stephanie, do you want to start?
Certainly. We're using a tool called Explore It.
Okay, thank you.
We're using Threshold.
Threshold. And Stephanie, there's another question for you, and she's asking, are they individual tours?
We have a combination of things. You can do one experience on there at a time, or you can actually basically walk through Orlando. So it's a multitude of experiences. Really, it's able to be customized depending upon what you or the consumer would like to use it, how they would like to use it. So it's been a very, we're using it on the B2B side as well on the consumer side, and it's a tool that either the individual can utilize themselves or we can take them through. And ours is also, it also has VR capabilities, so they have the ability to utilize the VR experience as well.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to dive a little bit further into the tech perspective now. And since this is a topic that it's hard to talk about without showing, we have short 1-minute demo videos from each of our tech panelists. And so the next question that I'm going to direct at them is, how do destinations use your software and hardware? And here we're really talking about what are the key features, how are reviews captured, and what are the different tiers that you offer? So we are going to start with Daniel from Threshold 360, and if we could cue up the video, then this would be perfect.
Threshold 360 is the world's largest provider of 360 virtual tours for the hospitality and travel industries. Our platform allows destinations, hotels, venues, and really any organization to deliver interactive virtual tours that are proven to drive engagement and direct bookings. Threshold makes capturing your destination simple. Not only do we come to your destination and capture hundreds of hotels, restaurants, and attractions, but also offers self-capture solutions for an on-demand refresh. For meeting planners, Threshold Virtual Tours enable them to stroll virtually through each location, grasp the unique ambiance, and identify the presence of important must-haves. With over 100,000 locations and 500,000 virtual tours already on the platform, Threshold content is being viewed on average of 2 million times every single day. Thank you. We look forward to discovering more about what makes your destination unique and amazing.
All right, Daniel, you want to hop in?
Sure thing, thanks. So I'm not sure I can say this better than Seth does. That's our head of sales. He's very eloquent. But there's really 3 parts to the Threshold platform. The first one of those is the capture side. So we go on site and actually schedule and capture 360 locations and imagery. And typically for a destination, that's hundreds or even thousands of different restaurants, hotels, attractions, and stuff like that. And what we've learned over time is that it's important to capture the complete depth of things. So for hotels, we capture all the different meeting rooms, all the different room types, all the different meeting rooms, and a complete sort of breakdown of the hotel. And as Seth mentioned, we actually also offer self-capture as well, which is increasingly important for things like seasonal refresh. The second part of our platform is the dashboard, which is essentially the user-facing dashboard that gives our customers access to all the different virtual tours and experiences and maps. And using that, they can craft custom RFP responses and combine virtual tours together in different ways that really help their sales and marketing efforts, as well as customized maps specifically to tell a story around a location or around an event or a wine tour, beer crawl, or something of that nature. And then third, our analytics systems. We actually have a system for measuring the usage of the platform. So in terms of engagements, referrals, rankings, and really designed to fit into the general reporting for metrics that a marketing organization would do. The third major part of the platform is delivery, and this is really where rubber hits road. So whether it's publishing as part of Google's business profiles, whether it's share pages where I think as Jennifer mentioned, there's actually sending an individual link that has the entire virtual tour attached to it, or whether it's social media and posting on Facebook or LinkedIn. We can really bring our virtual tours to all those different distribution methodologies and all the different channels. We integrate gracefully with SimpleView and Salesforce and many of the other CRM and CMS vendors. And what's especially interesting and we think unique about virtual tours in the sense on our platform is it's the opportunity to be impactful across the entire scope of the DMO. So this isn't just a tool that's used by sales or just by marketing, but really brings all of the different teams together around a tool and around a platform that can benefit everybody. So whether it's marketing and more social media blogs, or sales in terms of RFP responses, or sports tournament organizers and laying out lodging options. There's just a great amount of versatility to this format and to virtual tours really as a media type.
Mm-hmm. And we have an audience question that's directed at you, and they're asking if you need a subscription to view the locations on Threshold 360.
No, you don't. There's no viewing requirements. As a matter of fact, we just launched the Threshold map, maps.threshold360.com, which is an overview of our entire library. So.
Which is so cool. Yeah, I love that.
That's so cool.
So next we're going to turn to Robin at Matterport. So we can cue up the video for them now.
No bed, 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 no. No bed, no bed, no.
So it's really hard not to nod my head along with that video.
Well, hopefully that woke you up if you weren't awake already at the beat. Yeah. Thanks for showing that.
Sure.
So yeah, let me tell you a little bit more about Matterport. So Matterport is really a couple of different things, but as hopefully you got a little bit of a sense of, it allows you to capture a space, then move through that space as if you're really there. It's not a static photo, but it allows you to actually move through that space. And what we do is a couple of different things to enable you to do that. First of all, it's completely free if you want to capture one space. You can sign up today, you can get it going. You can even use your phone to do that or your iPad, which is pretty cool. And what you saw in this video is because last month we launched Matterport for iPhone and iPad. So you can go out, you can use your phone, you can capture a space, you can walk through it. And it gives people just the ability to nearly be there. And when you have that space, you can share it with as many people as you like, or you can embed it into your website, as many of our customers do. And once you have that space, you can allow people, as you hopefully saw in that video, to be able to measure the distance of a wall or embed labels and photos and so on. Because a lot of our customers, they want to bring a space to life. I'm sure many of you have tried the experience where you want to go and, or you have delegations of people coming to view your spaces. And this here allows you to do that all virtually. I remember when I was at LinkedIn, a couple of years ago, and we were planning our big event. A delegation of us would fly to Nashville and look at different spaces, and we'd walk around to check out the flow of a space, and we'd see where we could put signage and where we put people and where we do lunches and networking events and all kinds of things. It was a huge expense to send that many people. It was a lot of carbon footprint, I would say, as well, to do that. And you know, we would have to go back and forth because we'd have to come out and make sure that we would narrow down the venues. And eventually we chose the Gaylord in Nashville to host our event. But I just think nowadays, if you had this kind of technology, this virtual technology that allows you to move through that space and figure out where to put things and how to make the flow happen, because you even get the bird's eye view of the whole space, as you can see, the amount of time you could have saved in order to do that would just have been exponential. And we're seeing that in all of our business lines. Companies in real estate and in museums and in restaurants, they're all able to accelerate their business because it gives people a sense for really being there in a way that normal photos just don't. I think photos, it's easy to miss things or even misrepresent things, but you can't really do that when you have full 3D in that way. So what we do, just to kind of put a cap on it, you know, we sell a high-end camera that you can go buy. You can even buy a camera on Amazon.com called a 360 camera if you want to do all the stuff you just saw yourself. Or now you can also use the device that you have in your pocket. And it's completely free to do so for one space. So if you want to go and capture one of your meeting spaces or you know, one of your convention spaces, you can do that for free. If you want to have more than one space, our plan is basically you pay $10 a month for up to 5 spaces, and you pay $70 a month for up to 25 different spaces. And if you don't want to or don't feel confident in actually capturing a space yourself, we also have a service where we send what we call an expert, a technician out to capture the space for you so they can do it and they can put it online. And usually it's about $150, $200 per hour of capture that they do, but they come out with the equipment and they do it for you. So again, if you're thinking about, well, how do I let people into our space during this time? This is a great tool to do that. Not only for the people who you normally would market to, but actually it opens it up so you can invite people in from Singapore or Hong Kong or Tokyo or Copenhagen or London, because all those people now don't have to actually fly out to your space to see it. They can now see it virtually in nearly the same fidelity as being there in person. So that's what we do.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Concept 3D.
Concept 3D has expanded its platform. Introducing 360 Tour. 360 Tour is an incredible tool to generate excitement amongst your target market and end users. 360 Tour provides a vibrant VR-enabled experience and a detailed view of your space with the advantage of not having to be there in person, giving you the power to reach target markets inside and outside of your local community by creating your own virtual environment with photospheres, audio, video, and 360 videos that are easily shareable across social media platforms. With the 360 Tour, you will be able to deliver the message you want with the ability to manage your tour experience with Tour Builder, the 360 Tour content management system. Tour Builder is powerful, flexible, and easy to use. Here are just a few of the reasons why our clients choose us.
The virtual tour we built with Concept 3D has been very successful for us in emulating a real-world experience and given us the flexibility to create customizations for our users.
We're really impressed by the tour developed by Concept 3D. Bringing this virtual on-site experience to shows with us has created a lot of excitement.
Find out more by reaching out today or dive in and start your free version now by going to tour.concept3d.com/sign up.
All right, Gordon, want to tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. Let me tell you a little bit about what Concept 3D does for destinations. I like to think of it in 2 separate sort of areas when you think about the use cases. And so you can focus a lot of features in the sales and the business development experience, right? And so how do we enable salespeople to share spaces, share destinations, and give the buyer, right, the audience, an idea of where they're going to host an event or the destination where they're going to take a lot of people. There's some key features on the platform that allow us to do that. Obviously, virtual tours, and you saw a minute-long video there of what the virtual tour platform looks like, but it goes way beyond that. You had a sneak peek in there of our custom 3D maps. That's our DNA. We've been doing that for 13 years now, building for, I would say, over 60% of our clients also take on a custom 3D map, and that's a core part of what we do and sets us apart from others. You also saw some glimpses in there to floor plans, lots of media that can be included in the platform. We're very open to where that media comes from. You saw a little sneak peek of a YouTube video in there. The video can come from just about anywhere. We've actually built some really interesting experiences using media from Matterport, right? Their camera is phenomenal. The 3D models that come out of their camera are really interesting. And we just take that and put that into the platform to create one holistic experience. But beyond just sales, right, it's what can we do for the guest when they visit the location? How can we take down the barriers, the intimidation that comes from visiting a large venue? And we can do that in a lot of different ways. One is just familiarization, right? Giving people a bird's eye view of where they're going to visit, what it looks like, what they're going to experience is a big part of it. But then there's some features on the platform that take that to the next level, right? So think about things like wayfinding. It's increasingly important these days that these features include things like accessibility, right? Making sure that that the restrooms at these venues are labeled so people can understand what restrooms they're going to feel comfortable using. From an accessibility standpoint, where are the wheelchair routes, right? So you want to make sure that if you have a guest in a wheelchair, you don't send them down a set of stairs or up a set of stairs. You want to guide them towards the elevators. Real-time transit information is also something that's part of our experience, and so people can see the shuttle buses and the trains and pickup points for Lyft, for rideshare. All of those kind of things can be part of that holistic experience that makes it easier on the guest that's going to visit these venues. And then the last thing I'll sort of mention when we're thinking about it is we also take the approach of our entire platform. Everything that you saw there can be built self-service. But we also have an amazing client success team that can do just about everything in that solution. So we're finding more and more that people want to be able to be at all different locations along that spectrum, from self-serve to 100% provided experience. And we're comfortable playing whatever role folks want along that spectrum. The last thing I would say is if anybody wants to grab a free virtual tour and give it a try on their own, please visit us at concept3d.com and give the platform a try for yourself.
One of the other key features that you were talking about the other day that I thought was really interesting is how sports venues like arenas can be configured in different ways. And then you can toggle that information on or off depending on what kind of event set is being hosted there.
That's right. Yeah, we have content. We have floor plans that can vary depending upon how the venue is going to be set up. So at a large arena, think about something that might be set up for race day at a NASCAR venue, and then it also might be set up for concerts or events that are on site. And then we have a feature in the platform that'll allow you to set timers, right? And so that content automatically refreshes on a scheduled basis, which is really important on the guest experience side, right? So that when you have a set of guests visiting for a particular event, it looks like the event that they're at, so they know where to park, and they know where the restrooms are and first aid centers and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on to the next question, I'd like to just snag an audience question that's come in. And that was, do these virtual tours include outdoor spaces or venues like courtyards and parks? Daniel, can you grab that one?
Yeah, sure. So in our, in our coverage, generally the answer is yes. We shoot very much according to the preferences of our customers and also for general coverage. And so yeah, we have tens of thousands of parks and lots of courtyards built into there as well. Generally with hotels, if there is an outdoor space inside of a hotel, we'll pretty much always capture that.
Well, because that's one of the sort of key things that people want to see, right, is the things that are around the actual site that they're looking at.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's actually, we find increasingly with meeting planners that the neighborhood is something that they want a keen amount of insight into. And very often when we shoot a convention center, we'll actually shoot the surrounding neighborhood just pro bono, because we feel that that's such an important context for where people may want to go, after the convention and things like that, to kind of have that visibility. One of the cool features about our maps as well is actually that because that's all provided on there, people can actually use that. Those can actually on site at the convention, people can use that map to actually experience the virtual tours and decide where they're actually going to go that evening and things like that. So it all kind of integrates together.
That's cool. Well, so I'm going to bring our destination panelists back in on this next one. And this question is setting current travel restrictions aside, right? Because we know that virtual tours have been so important in this moment because people can't travel. But setting that aside and looking at the broader picture of event planning, what is the larger value of virtual tours for meeting planners? And I'd like to shoot this one to Jennifer to start us off.
Sure. So, everyone travels so much. So taking aside, go into a site visit, you can now do that in your own house or in your own office. So it's kind of going to be easier for these meeting planners just to do site visits now virtually and see everything. Like Daniel said, someone for my destination, we want to see our neighborhoods. We want them to see our neighborhoods. So you're just not stuck in a hotel. We don't have a convention center, so majority of our hotels are where your meeting will be taking place. So we want people to see our downtown areas or our attractions. So being able to do a virtual tour now is just easier on the meeting planner because they don't have to travel that much anymore, where I think a lot of people are starting to think of that now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that one of the things that you mentioned previously was that if you're doing something virtually, it's easier to see things in proximity to each other than it would be if you were driving around. You get a more global view.
Well, absolutely. If we're bringing someone here from to Long Island, they're going to be sitting in the traffic. So this way we can show you guys, New York City, your hotel, or here's the downtown area, like that, instead of them seeing the traffic when they're coming to Long Island.
Yeah. Stephanie, what's your perspective?
Thank you. That's a great question. So yes, it certainly, as Jennifer mentioned, it's a great opportunity to continue with the virtual site tours as we move back into more face-to-face. There's an additional thing that we're utilizing the tool for, and we actually started using it a couple years ago when we originally got our tool, and that is for when we are at trade shows, when we are at sales calls, at sales missions, and we have regional sales folks that are based throughout the United States. And when they are there in the office meeting face-to-face with a meeting planner, they're able to utilize our Explore It tool to show the meeting planner right there in their office, essentially Orlando. They're able to show them the distance between various things. They're able to see aerial views. So it's become better than a brochure because as someone mentioned earlier, pictures are great, but having a very interactive tool where you're able to show what really is there is much better. At trade shows, we have it set up so that the attendees can come up and essentially maneuver the tool for themselves. And again, we use it in a very similar fashion that we can, no matter what destination we're in for the trade show, we can essentially do a FAM tour or a destination orientation while we're there at the trade show. So I see us continuing to utilize it for sales calls. We also have an international sales team. Again, they utilize it from a sales call standpoint, and we've been using it this way for quite some time now. So we're getting more and more invested with how often we're using it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen three great examples of technology that brings spaces to life, I think, today. It's so inspiring to see that we're all thinking the same thing. How do we bring a space to life and bring people into that space? And we're getting to the point, and certainly the pandemic has accelerated this, where we're getting to the point where I'm hearing lots of stories of people who are actually booking spaces without even ever setting foot there. You're seeing people buying houses without ever setting foot in a house. I mean, the mindset of people is really shifting very rapidly. I mean, and it's gone fast. 20 years ago, we were all nervous about buying a new pair of shoes online. What if they don't fit and I have to send it back, right? And think about now we're buying a whole convention, you're renting a whole convention space or a hotel for your event, or you're buying a house. And this is the kind of technology that we've just seen today that gives you that confidence that you can do so without going there in person. It wasn't possible just even 5 years ago. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Maybe just to add to that a little bit, it's exciting to see this technology, which is one of those sort of amazingly cool technologies that in Ethos has been around for years and years, move from being a great idea, a cool demo, all these other things, to being something which is increasingly table stakes, for an industry like this, where it really does move the needle and grounds itself very quickly in terms of the numbers. When we look at the engagement that we're getting right now, it's higher than it's ever been. When we look at the growth that we've seen in recent months, it's fantastic to see how the whole thing is maturing. So.
Gordon, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, building off of what the other panelists are saying, I think that, it is all part of a continuing digital evolution, right? It's a lot of people thought techniques like VR were, in question 4 or 5 years ago, is whether they were going to be part of the mainstream, and they're not, right? That's not in question anymore. That is table stakes, as was just said. I think the other thing that we're seeing a lot of is that it provides, being so visual, it provides a great opportunity for collaboration. It's so hard to explain to someone what something looks like, but if you can just show them what it looks like, you get a whole different level of discussion. You get a great opportunity, especially when you're doing in that B2B transaction, right? To go through the discovery process, to understand what people's true requirements really are, and what they end up falling in love with as they see it, right? You get a really good feel for their inclination and what you want to include in your next proposal back to that client. And we're seeing that in spades across a lot of different industries. And then the other thing that I'll mention is, our platform in particular has become a great parking lot for the greatest hits of content, right? And so many bigger companies and bigger businesses have an unbelievable amount of content that's been created over the years, but they don't always have a place to put it, right? And they don't have a place where their broader set of sales and business development people can turn to and say, hey, I want to put this together for a client. Our platform allows that, and it makes it such a great replacement for something like PowerPoint. PowerPoint has become so boring, so passe. It's just not interesting anymore. But you can take 360 models, maps, media, videos, and compile them into something that that feels like a virtual tour to some of us as we're talking about it. But at the end of the day, I think in a lot of cases, it's a replacement for PowerPoint, which has just gotten old.
Yeah, and Dan, the way that you phrased it the other day was that 360 has been a tech in search of a problem, and that we're really not there anymore.
Yeah. And thanks. And I think part of that is the deliverability on all of these standard platforms. I mean, there's always going to be, I'm a VR guy, and I have complete 3D envy of Robin and the Matterport solution, because I think that's really, really cool stuff. But as we go forward, I think it's the fact that we can deliver so many of these virtual tours on standard platforms, and extend. We can, looking forward with the progress that Apple and Google and these other makings in terms of the VR, the AR. Ultimately, we all hope that and believe that that's going to become consumer level devices. But in the meantime, the fact that we can generate tangible business results and help our customers move the needle on bookings just on an iPad or on an iPhone, I think it's just fantastic.
Well, to cap us off, I'd like to take a look at the future and what you guys think it's going to look like, because this is very forward-facing technology. So from the tech side, what features are you anticipating that we'll see next? And from the destination side, what do you guys would you like to see? So Gordon, will you start us off?
Yeah, sure. From a Concept 3D standpoint, we are really excited for the evolution of what can be experienced in a web browser, right? So Daniel was just talking about a standard platform. In a lot of cases, that's what we mean when we say standard, right? What can we do in a browser? And what can we share with people in a browser? And we've been looking a lot at the technology that's inside of things like a PlayStation and an Xbox, because there's some amazing 3D, 360 animation type experiences that live on those platforms. And certainly a year or two ago, most of those capabilities were just not ready for a browser. They would shut down a browser and take way too much of the compute that's in all of our computers and laptops. But what I think we're about to see in 2021 is that those capabilities, those techniques will start to reveal themselves and bring a much richer visual experience to the web that captivates users and changes the way business gets done. So at Concept 3D, we're seeing some of it in what I'll call our lab already. And I think 2021 is going to be a really exciting time for the visual experience and how it impacts all of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Robin, what do you think?
I think it's all about bringing a space to life as much as you possibly can. You know, like what we're seeing, how a good parallel is all of us being on a Zoom meeting right now. A Zoom meeting is way more engaging than just a phone call, but it's still not quite the same thing as actually if we were all in the same room, or we're all sitting in the same room doing this. But it's close. You know, the virtual tour technology, the 3D technology is also rapidly evolving towards nearly being there. There's still a few things that you lack. You know, when you look at some of these tours that you've just been seeing from our company and other companies, they're great. They're visually super engaging, but they lack a little bit of, I would say, warmth and engagement and humanity. You know, what is it like with people in a space? What's it like the sounds in a space? Can you actually hear that itself? What about if you start putting in virtual furniture so you can start configuring a space to your liking? Oh, I want to put in more modern furniture here, or maybe some more classical furniture here, and change the configuration just with a few clicks. And so what we're working on and what we're seeing our customers ask a lot for is, well, how can they just not capture a space, which we do all, I think, very well today, but how can they manipulate that space? So if you're trying to think about, I want to book this hotel for my next sales kickoff, or I want to do my corporate event here in this convention center. Well, if you really want to like check out a space and configure it in the optimal way, you really want to have a sense for what that could be. And so what we're working on and what we're working with is a lot of different tech companies, kind of like what Gordon is doing, thinking about, well, how do you actually take, you know, the best ideas from the consumer world? And our technology platform actually started by hacking an Xbox Connect. You know, our founders hacked an Xbox Connect and took the 3D component and created a commercial grade camera. But how do we use some of these techniques that we're seeing, you know, from Snapchat, for example, or TikTok, and all of these interesting things that brings things to life even more? Because if you're really going to sell somebody on a space and them signing the contract without ever going there, they've got to have really high confidence that this is the right moment for them, both inside, like we've talked about, but certainly also outside. So that's how we're thinking about how do we make a space way more engaging all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because you're really talking about some technologies that have existed sort of independent of each other, but then being able to marry them all together into one platform, it creates a much richer experience, I would imagine.
I mean, I had a company reach out to me and said, hey, we want to be able to integrate sound and music as you walk through a space that's dependent on who you are and what musical preference that you have and the sounds that you might be hearing and so on. You know, so there's all kinds of things because you want to be able to, again, to have a much more engaging experience. We also even have a version of Matterport that allows you to put on a headset and walk through a space in complete immersive 3D, which is a whole different level of engagement that you see.
Well, before we turn to our destinations, just to round out the tech side, Daniel, what about you? What's your perspective?
Yeah, so I think we too are sort of looking at virtual tours as a framework that we can enrich with other media types and things like this. And to Robin's point, I think, you know, ourselves as well as many other vendors in the space have historically, you know, added a variety of different tools and things and tests and widgets. I don't think anyone has yet come up with the panacea for the correct way to integrate the video and the audio, these other elements. And I totally agree with Robin that there's a great opportunity, and Gordon, that there's a great opportunity to present those things. I think part of the art of virtual tour, you know, delivery, where rubber hits road, is really capturing and delivering the right elements and the right media in the right place at the right time. Because the consumer, if we learn anything from consumer interfaces, it's that they have to be kept just, you know, blessedly simple. Otherwise, people won't use them. we're, like I said, we've gotten in recent months higher engagement numbers. We got about 22% engagement if our content is on a page, but about one out of four people is going to click and actually interact with that. And the reason, part of what's helping us push that, we find, is keeping our interfaces really, really elemental and really simple. So the art of capture and delivery of those elements and integrating those things, in such a way that they're easy for the consumer to use, I think is really going to be a fundamental thing. And the goal of that, whether it's driving a click for a booking, whether it's just encouraging a consumer to go and visit a park because it's a really engaging place, all of those things kind of boil up to greater value to DMOs and greater values to all of our location partners.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've had several audience questions come in. I want to make sure that we keep time for those. But before we do that, I would like to get our destinations perspective on what you guys would like to see integrated moving into the future. So Jennifer, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I'm not a tech nerd. So when I was doing Threshold for, our virtual fans, it was all new to me and learning. But Stephanie brought up a great point, like using it at trade shows. So now this is how we're going to do the new norm, I guess. We're doing virtual tours or site visits at trade shows, showing them. And like I said, for us, we're 110 miles long. So bringing someone in, not wasting, but you're here for 3 to 5 days. Doing something like a virtual tour saves all of us time and travel expenses. And I would rather have someone do a virtual tour of Long Island than bring you in and put more money towards your event when you're coming here, help you assist in some of our fees that we have. So we're definitely going to look into, using Threshold more in the sales aspect side of that. So we're excited for that.
Stephanie, what about you?
I would say that one of the areas of opportunity for us, and we're actually working with Explore It on this at this time, is to integrate the existing virtual tours that our properties, our hotels, our venues already have. Because obviously, as we see here on just this panel alone, we have 3 different organizations, and there's others out there. So a way to integrate what is currently existing from one of our, let's say a hotel that's using a particular tool, that we can integrate it into Explore It so that it's seamless. And as I mentioned, we are currently working with Explore It on this. So that will allow us to have an even more seamless opportunity, including, as Jennifer and I were discussing, showing it more at trade shows, and it'll be more interactive from a sales experience. And I would also love to see, again, I'm not a techie person, but we have, as I mentioned earlier, on our Explore It tool, we have rides. So you can essentially, you're on one of the SeaWorld roller coasters or the Universal roller coasters. And if you have the VR headset, it can be even very realistic. I'll just put it to that. So I would love to see, as we continue moving forward, the ability to have the promotional virtual tour glasses that work well. We've tried a few, not had great success with it. So those are some areas of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to open it up for questions, but while people are sort of thinking about what they'd like to ask, we have a second poll for our audience. So if you could just take a moment to answer that, I think that would be really, really helpful, just to know where you guys are at in terms of what innovations y'all think are most useful to the meetings and events industry. And while people are answering that, Stephanie, there was a question, where is it on the Orlando site that consumers can go and look at your tour?
So we have it in a couple different places. When you go on to visitorlando.com, or when you go on to orlandomeeting.com, right in the main paragraph, there is information about going into the virtual tour, and there's a link right there. But there's also areas that called Explore right there on the home page. You click on Explore, and then there's another area that says virtual tours. You click on it, and it takes you right into it.
Cool. Oh, wow. We had a slight lead on 3D room sets for the answer to the poll question, but it was pretty evenly split. A lot of people really went for augmented reality. And then, you know, a healthy showing as well in terms of interactive wayfinding maps and maps of areas surrounding venues. So that's interesting. We had a question come in through the chat also for our destinations. And the question is, for the destinations on the panel, did you pay for the tool, or did the individual hotels, attractions, et cetera, pay for their virtual tour, or was it a shared cost?
I'm trying to get an answer. I saw that chat come in and I didn't start it. So I'm trying to get, I just texted one of my coworkers now. I'm waiting for that as soon as I know. But Daniel, I don't know if you can talk on behalf of us.
Oh, you're on mute.
Can't hear you, Daniel.
Oh, no. Daniel, we missed your answer.
Sorry about that. So I'm actually not certain either. Apologies. But
So I can answer that on behalf of Visit Orlando. We did absorb the cost to create the virtual tour. So when you go into orlando.com and you see what is currently there for our virtual tour, we absorbed all of that cost. Now there will be future opportunities for us where we will be looking to add, again, as I mentioned earlier, our members in some cases have their own tools, and there's an opportunity for us to connect their tools with ours. We are also going to, and it was already scheduled for this year, but unfortunately with the COVID situation, we've had to push it off until 2021, but we'll have a second filming where Explore It will come back and they will do even more scenes and more filming for us. And again, we plan to absorb the cost for that, but we have some enhancements that our members will be able to do, and there'll be a cost to them for that. So it's a little bit of a half and half.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see that Robin has thrown his contact into the chat. If our other tech companies would like to do that as well, just that's an option. Oh, I see Gordon already did that. Great.
Well, I would just say, I mean, we're getting to the point where this is not a nice to have anymore, really. We're already hearing it from Stephanie and Jennifer, who are on the forefront of this, but we're going to come to a point in the future where every space in the world is going to be digitized. So it's better being at the forefront of this and opening up your space to the world and letting people into it versus being forced to do it. It's going to happen. I mean, whether or not it's Matterport or Threshold 3D or Constant, it's going to happen. And we're seeing just the explosion of that because people are realizing the benefits of doing it. And I'm so excited to see what Stephanie and Jennifer are already doing to let people into their space. But if you're not already doing it, I think now is the time because the technology is imminently accessible for you to do so. And this really lets you maintain or accelerate your business in a way that I think just opens up new possibilities for you. So very excited, and thank you certainly for letting us showcase that.
Mm-hmm. Well, so one question to follow on Stephanie's point about adding to their virtual tour. How easy is it to update a tour once it's been created? And I imagine that answer might be different for each of our tech panelists. So whoever wants to jump in, just go for it.
I'll jump in. You know, it really depends on the platform and what you're trying to update. For us, everything is in our content management system, both our mapping platform and our tour platform. It's entirely point and click. I'd argue it's easier to use than PowerPoint at the end of the day. You know, the only thing that takes some time and that everybody here knows is if you want new media, you want to shoot new video, then that obviously takes a site visit. And I'm sure, you know, all three of the tech providers here are able to do that in a relatively timely manner. The other thing I'll also say that we find quite a bit with our clients is you also got to take into account time of year. You know, if you live in sunny Florida, I bet it's green most of the time. It's slightly different if you're in Chicago or even the beautiful seasons of Long Island. And so we find that some of our clients like to make sure that they get the flowers in full bloom or capture the fall season, whatever the case may be. And that requires a little more thought and planning.
Yeah. We very much do the same thing. Of course, as Gordon said, the southern half of the country is much easier than the northern half of the country from a timing perspective. But we found with a lot of our customers will refresh at least part of their library on almost an annual basis, depending especially key locations and things like that. Sometimes for different seasons and those elements. And scheduling that's relatively simple. We set a target of under 90 days for delivery of imagery. From the start of our contract with one of our customers, so we can do that. Often it's much faster than that in terms of progressive delivery, and then in terms of refresh, generally within a month we can deliver updated imagery for things. So, and usually that's coordinating around the weather and the time, the traffic, and things like that. So.
Well, we have time for one more question, I think, and that was for small nonprofits. Like Route 66 associations, are there minimum budget requirements? Robin, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's zero. You can get started today. You download the app on your phone. You capture the space on your phone, and it's zero. We actually have a lot of nonprofits, small galleries, small cafes, restaurants, yoga studios, gyms. We even have some of the museums now coming online. The Rosa Parks Museum, the Civil Rights Museum, because of the moment we're in time. People are really capturing spaces. But if you want to get started, capture one space, with your iPhone or iPad. It's completely free to do so.
Mm-hmm. Gordon or Daniel?
Sure. So from a budget perspective, relatively low percentage of the DMO's annual budget is actually required for this. I mean, we're a very small percentage typically of what general video budgeting is actually needed for this. We can get on site for really the cost, because we don't actually make a tremendous, we really don't focus on the revenue from the capture, we really focus on our revenue from the platform. And so, our goal is to get the price as low as we possibly can for the customer.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Gordon?
Yeah, same here. We support nonprofits as well. And, we do have some features that are free to get started. And then I would say that our how we engage with people that have a lot more sensitivity around budget is just, we're pretty well versed at finding high ROI, relatively small engagements to do with folks. We do really, really, really big engagements as well. But there's lots of ways to get started if you're either a smaller venue or a nonprofit with less budget.
Mm-hmm. We had one last quick one come in for you,
Rebecca.
Robin.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Rebecca. It's a Matterport capture app. You download that and it's completely free to use. So go for it. And if you have any questions, you could ping me, robin@matterport.com.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. We really, really appreciate your time and your insights and experience. And thank you also to all of our attendees who participated today. Thanks for your input, your questions, and your poll responses. We are going to be emailing you the recording of this presentation within about a week. And also after we close out, there's going to be a survey that shows up in your browser that's going to ask some questions, particularly about upcoming content. And we would love if you would take a moment to fill that out so that we can deliver more content that is particularly relevant to you moving forward in the future. So thanks to everyone, and y'all have a good afternoon and take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye now.